Hello and welcome back to Telling Stories. I'm Christopher Schultz, historian, media critic, and news junkie. It has been a difficult week this week. Attacks in Paris, Nigeria, Beirut. Terrorism is on the front pages, but I needed to take a break from that stuff. So here I am with a new video this week. And today's topic is going to be the Republican primaries. Yay! I just love seeing all of the punditry about it. And today, the New York Times has an article asking the question of when is the best time to drop out of a candidacy race. The New York Times has gone about this question by asking, usually from a pretty strategic perspective, what else do these candidates have on the go, whether or not they should bother, or whether they should invest their time and money elsewhere. These are good questions. It doesn't deal with the substance. Here is the Telling Stories take on when you should drop out. It's when you say something completely insane. The reason this story is running this week is that Bobby Jindal has just announced that he is withdrawing from the race. It's just not his time. One might even say that his ideas have evolved. So he joins Rick Perry and Scott Walker as being three fairly prominent candidates who have now withdrawn. Honestly, I'm kind of glad. Let's deal with some of the crazy things these candidates have said throughout their political careers. First up, we have Bobby Jindal. Bobby Jindal has a medicine background, but endorses intelligent design. Dude. Rick Perry, on the other hand, refuses to tax the people of Texas, but then happily doubles their state debt to build highways. Guess who uses the roads, Rick? The people you'd be taxing. Perry also is known for regularly disparaging the Supreme Court, which is one of the fundamental pillars of American society. You know how Republicans are always worried about tyranny in the White House? Well, they seem to have forgotten that the Supreme Court is there to prevent tyranny of the majority outside of the White House. And the last person to withdraw is Scott Walker. He's a real treat. This is a guy who refuses to allow same-sex couples to visit each other in the hospital. Oh, he's so sweet, that Scotty Walker. Oh, and he also wants to give discretionary rights to the police to stop anyone they think might be an illegal immigrant. Watch out, Bobby Jindal. I think that guy Scott Walker is a little sketchy. I don't think he likes brown people. Scott Walker is also famous for returning a grant to institute Obamacare in his state. And the reason he doesn't want to have Obamacare is because he thinks it would be bad for the economy. You know what else is bad for the economy, Scott? Sick employees who can't get well. So, suffice to say, all three of these candidates I think have very good reasons to drop out, and it has nothing to do with strategy. It has to do with the fact that they're blithering idiots. But following from my opening premise, I wonder why people like Donald Trump and Ben Carson are still in, because frankly they've been responsible for some of the most insanely stupid things in this whole campaign. Ben Carson believes that aliens built the pyramids. It's worth mentioning at this point that Ben Carson is a brain surgeon. Ben, you know that running for the Republican nomination doesn't mean you had to lobotomize yourself. Ben Carson, like Bobby Jindal, of course has a background in medicine and is also a proponent of intelligent design. Ben Carson's objection to evolution is rooted in his knowledge of the human genome, where he says that mutations tend to be destructive rather than improvements. Darwin doesn't say anything about improvement. He just talks about mutation. And if something proves to be advantageous, then it continues. And if it's not advantageous, then it doesn't continue. That is evolution in a nutshell, Ben. You don't even understand the basic science behind it. And that brings us around to Donald Trump, the sweetest of all, the guy who basically said that all immigrants are rapists and murderers. Oh, did we mention that Donald Trump's grandfather was an immigrant? That's right, a German immigrant. And he was a draft dodger. He ran away from Prussia because he didn't want to serve in the army. And what did he do? He came to America to set up brothels and slum houses. Gee, Donald, Methinks you have some troubled family history that you're trying to reveal in your stance on refugees and immigrants. Although, frankly, his disgusting stance on women is pretty much in line with his grandfather. So don't be fooled by the opulence of Trump. His grandfather was a draft-dodging pimp, and his father was a slumlord. So when is it a good time to drop out again? How about when you say things that are completely crazy during an election? I hope you've enjoyed the program this week. This is Telling Stories, and I'm Christopher Schultz. Join us next week for another fresh episode. And if you liked today's episode, please subscribe below and leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like to hear from me in upcoming episodes. Thanks again. Take it easy. We'll see you next week.